Hey friends, Rob Phoenix, Power Guy here. Hope you're all doing well. Uh, I wanted to talk to you guys tonight a little bit about the difference between Churchianity and folk Christianity. Uh, every once in a while, I put something out there, and then inevitably I get an email or a text or something like, "Yeah, that's not Christian. You're not a very good Christian because of one of these thou shalt nots," or whatever the nonsense is. So I think it's really important to distinguish between churchianity and folk Christianity. I consider myself to be a folk Christian. Like I've said ad nauseum a millions of times, I was raised Catholic. Then as I got older, I left the Catholic Church and I started exploring like alternative religions and such, and then eventually found my way back to the German Reformed Church, which was the church of my father's side of the family and my grandparents. And eventually I left that and just kind of became folk Christian. And so let's talk about the difference. When I say churchianity, I mean uh, adhering strictly to the rules and laws as outlined by the specific denomination that you go to. Like that you attend, whether it's Methodist or Lutheran or Catholic or Baptist or whatever. And that's fine if you want to lock yourself into that. I, however, see things a little different. I don't believe that Christ actually ever said, on Sunday, I need you to gather and do these rituals, and the priest should say this, and then the people should repeat this, and then they should stand, then sit, then kneel, then stand, then sit and kneel. And I don't remember reading that anywhere. So right away, I don't care for those ritualistic things. And the fact that there are so many different denominations tells me that even the people who are trying to be quote unquote biblical can't get their shit together. Uh, I cringe when I see things like, like the MAGA trying to force the Ten Commandments to be posted in school. Like, yeah, that's ancient Israel law. That has nothing to do with Christianity. I believe it was Peter M. Paul who decided, like, we're doing away with all that thou shalt not nonsense. And the only two rules to be a Christian are love God and love your neighbor. And, I kind of just, I think that's enough. I think it's enough to know that Christ did these miracles, whether he was the Son of God or just a very spiritual person and a folk magician, which I'm kind of leaning more towards as I get older. And I think that's enough. That's all we need to know. So yeah, I don't think we need to be chanting out of books and singing all these psalms and all this, like singing songs in praise of God and everything. I think the work we do is how we honor God. And so that's folk religion. People who are excluded from the church for so long, they didn't get the teachings from the church. They weren't privy to like the inner circle workings of it. Most of the people were illiterate up until just like a century or so ago. And so they didn't even know what was in the Bible. They had no idea. And all they knew of the church was that it was oppressive and it was political and it was greedy. And it just did terrible, terrible things in order to make itself more wealthy. Nothing has changed. So, as I get older, I realize like folk Christianity should be the way that God helps you make your life better. Like I've said this before and I'll say it again. Ask not what you can do for your church. Ask what your Christianity can do for you. And I still maintain that. I think that's really important. So folk Christianity is really the religion that created by the folk. They found bits and pieces of what they actually knew of Jesus, and they incorporated it into their lives so that they could make their lives better, so they could survive, so they could help other people, so they could get through dark times. I can't think of anything more powerful than that. So just standing in a church, and I found myself going down that dark path like 15 years ago or so when I was just really like, when I refound my Christianity. And it takes you to a bad place where you're just like, that's a sin, and this is bad and you have to get saved. And now I think all of that is crap. I I don't think that idea of sin is anything. I think we should obey the laws of our land. End of story. We know what's right. We know what's wrong. We don't need to go to church for that. Um, what other people do, I don't care. It's whatever. So anyway, so when I get emails or text messages or even people saying to my face, like, I'm not doing this, like, that doesn't apply to me. That's not my belief. You know, I don't care what the Catholic Church says. I don't care what the German Reformed Church says. These are like people made all that shit up, and I'm not interested. Um, my Christianity is, I think Jesus was cool. I think he did some really good stuff. He did some interesting stuff, a lot of magic stuff, and I just want to do that. And um, I feel like the spirit of Jesus is available for those of us who need to speak to him, kind of like a folk saint almost. And was he the Son of God? I don't even know. We don't know. It's just a belief. Nobody can say for a fact anything is this or that. It's all just a belief. There's no proof. So, yeah, I think, saying there's Jesus and God the Father, Jesus believed very much in God. So maybe in some spiritual level, he was his Father. And then the Holy Ghost is the power that does our magic. It's the breath of God. It's that magic that we do. I guess, I don't know. Again, nebulous concept. So anyway, that's the difference. You can be a Churchian and follow all the rules, but then if you really truly want to be that, if you want to be that Catholic, you need to actually follow all the rules they say and adhere to the lifestyle they lay out for you. Otherwise, you're not true. And why would you want to lock yourself into that? I think folk religion is more like, it's more productive. It actually benefits the world in a way because the people just use their faith in simple ways in their gardening and such, and it's not to oppress other people. Um, so there you go. Those are my definitions. Your definitions may vary. And if you have something nice to say, I'm interested in hearing it. And if you don't have anything nice to say, I don't want to hear it. Because you can't change my mind by being an ass. So anyway, that's that. I think we're seeing a lot more folk religion. Not even necessarily folk Christianity, but just more folk religion. And that's another thing, like being a Christian, but practicing a folk religion means that it's okay to incorporate elements into my belief that might seem like somewhat blasphemous to the church, like working with the devil or working with spirits in nature and such, and doing magic. It gives me the freedom to be what I am, what I truly am, and not what I have to be to satisfy the requirements of a specific denomination within the Christian church. And yeah, we're all using the same Bible, but for somebody like me, the Bible is a wholly, entirely occult book. It is a book filled with magic and power and mystery, and also a lot of BS. But there you go. So that's my discussion. Your views may be different. That's okay. That's all right. And until I'm proven otherwise, like, that's where I'm at. And if I get new information that helps me to refine my beliefs or change things or adapt how I see the world, then then that's what happens. We have to allow ourselves to be malleable and changeable, based on new information and new life experiences. So anyway, that's folk Christianity. You should never feel guilty if you're a magically oriented person, because that's in you. That's a part of you. That's who you are. So you go with that, and don't be held back by silly man-made rules of various church denominations and such, because they don't mean anything except to the people who enforce them. So that's it. Hope you're all having a great weekend. God bless you guys. Love you very much. Let's talk again soon.